We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there. Even the moon's frightened of me, frightened to death. The whole world's frightened to death.
Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome to another edition of Blood and Guts, where we break down the blood and guts of Halloween Horror Nights. And with me, as always, is the director's favorite muse, Matt. How's it going tonight, Matt?
I'm fantastic, Evil Adam. How about yourself?
I'm hanging on, hanging on. So tonight, we got a special episode for you. We thought we would break down some bucket list houses that we didn't get to go to, but we sure would have loved to have gone in them.
Yes.
And a little bit of reason why, why they call to us, why they make us feel, passion for the event.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's go ahead and let's kick this turkey, light this fire, and get it started. So go ahead and lead us off, Matt. What's your first bucket list house that you wish you could have attended, and why?
Well, it's the one I touched on in our maiden episode, and for obvious reasons, it's the Crypt Keeper's Dungeon of Terror back at Halloween Horror Nights 5. And obviously, as a kid, that was the first house I seen advertised because I was watching Tales from the Crypt episodes every Saturday night on HBO.
Yeah.
And so when it come time for that event, they started announcing, hey, come to Universal Halloween Horror Nights so you can see the Crypt Keeper's castle, or not castle, but his mansion. And so, like I said, me as a kid, I want to go do that.
I'm picturing your dad right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm picturing him.
We'll go do that. And, of course, we never did because we're in North Carolina. Horror Nights is in Florida, and that's something they didn't know what Horror Nights was. They didn't know what I've been watching that night. So,
Sure.
But just looking back and reading and doing some studying on this house,
Yeah.
I found out it does take place in the mansion. Like you go through from room to room, like you start out in the graveyard, almost like how the intro of the show does, and then you move into the library. You go down into the dungeon. You see the Crypt Keeper in his casket. And you also, they said when you first go into the house, the Crypt Keeper's kind of sitting over you, talking almost like, chiding you to come in.
So
and
imagine that with a Danny Elfman score,
or
or if they couldn't use the score, a similar.
They actually did use the score because I'm glad you touched on it. Because instead it said that the music's pretty much playing throughout the whole house, and when you get in each room, the Crypt Keeper's basically telling you a story. Just like he would in the episodes, like how you do those introductions and stuff. So, just from what I've reading about it, it sounded like it was an awesome house. And in the trivia section, actually said it was the first Icons house that they devoted to the icons. So, like I know, like Beetlejuice, Dracula, all them were like the unofficial icons back when it was Fright Nights.
Right, and that's when they were kind of bending the rules just a little bit to where this isn't even before they had the rights to Michael or Jason,
right,
or any of those. We're going to get them. We're going to change them up just a little bit so that we don't get in trouble. Mm-hmm. And then he was the first icon coming.
Yeah, and then the Crypt Keeper, I guess it was HHN, is either 3 or 4. Whenever he was an icon of the event, but that he was so popular, then they was like, well, we're going to give him this house. And so it ended up being the first Icon's house. And just reading the response from people who went to it, it seemed like it was a very successful house, and it seemed like people really enjoyed it. So that one there, like I said, that was my number one that I always wanted to go see just because as a kid, it was the first house I ever heard about for Halloween Horror Nights, and it's just kind of stuck with me throughout my life.
That would have been great, yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially if it follows that Danny Elfman score and you're going through scene by scene, and he pops that casket open.
And I wonder, because it says you see him in the casket, but they don't talk about if he does that, but I imagine that's probably what they went to, so you can
with a laugh
recreate
track
that.
In there, or not a laugh track, but his laugh track as he pops that open. Mm-hmm. That would have been great. And I could only imagine.
So tell me then, what made your number one on your list, and tell me why.
In no real particular order. I've got the Body Collector's Collections of the Past, and that's from 2008. And what you had was, they had already done the Body Collector's house with the legendary spine rip, and it was just, legendary gore in this house. They're body collectors. They're taking body parts. They're taking souls. So this one took place, from what I've seen, in Victorian London. So you had the Jack the Ripper element, and from what I've read about the lore, is, so apparently the Jack the Ripper Whitechapel killings are going on. This is not Jack the Ripper. These are the body collectors. And they're confusing it. So you also had the Sweeney Todd element in there where they had the chair with this character who would be, cut several places. The water mist would spray out onto you and stuff. And I just think it would be really cool because I'm a sucker for history to go into Victorian London. You got the fog, you got the cobblestones, the old school buildings, kind of thing. And I've always wanted to see that one and think about, what would it be like to go back and go down the streets. Because, when they do a history house, they do it well.
Right.
So
you're absolutely right on
what
that.
would it be like to go through Victorian London?
And I love the element, like you said, how it kind of plays off like, everybody thinks it's Jack the Ripper. It does to kill him, and in fact, it was the body collectors.
Yeah.
That's very creative on their part.
Oh, yeah.
And then just take you through the other aspects of, like I said, with the Sweeney Todd house and like the makeup they did on the body collectors
had to be awesome.
Amazing.
And I mean, a lot of blood in this one, from what I've read and what I've seen, what little videos exist. A lot of blood, especially, and you get the legendary spine rip.
Yes.
Which that's my big thing. Universal, bring back the body collectors. I want to see, and I know many more. Want to see the legendary spine rip, where they would have this character laying on the table, fully,
yes,
full human character. You get the spine ripped
and
out.
just hear that sound effect.
Oh yeah, and just the whole effect of it. So bring that back, Universal, if you're watching. But yeah. What's next up on your bucket list of gems?
As we found out, like as we went through all of our episodes, I'm a huge werewolf. I love werewolf movies, horror movies. Like I said, that was kind of like my bread and butter as a kid. So I'd have to say an American Werewolf in London back in 2015 for HHN 25. My brother, he actually got to go that year and just ranted and raved about how that was the best house he's seen that day. And just in seeing the videos of it, it just takes you throughout the whole movie. Like you start off there in the slaughtered lamb, you could hear Jack say, "Hey, what's that star on the wall for?" And then just working your way, you're on the moors. You see them getting attacked. You see Jack there getting his throat ripped out and stuff, and had the great makeup.
The theater scene. I mean,
had the theater scene.
The subway was awesome.
David and his transformation scene. I mean, just touched on every little bit of the movie, and they'd done it well done. It's kind of like when we hit our review for the Chupacabra house and how that they done wrong was we only seen that animatronic twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, about 3 times. Yeah.
But here you see that wolf animatronic throughout the house, so they've got the budget, they got the know-how. So that's kind of why I was disappointed in that one. But that's where this one was successful because it really immersed you into that movie, and you felt like you were there in London.
And from what I heard, they did it. What was it? I might be wrong about the time frame, but 2013 they did it.
Yeah, they did in that one too.
And Landis was a consultant. John Landis was a consultant. So then later, when they went back, Landis, one of his criticisms was, the puppet needs to be more articulated. It needs to move. It needs to breathe. It needs to do its own thing. So when 15 came, they actually took Landis's notes on the okay, we're gonna take John Landis, the director, his notes. We're gonna run with it. So they improved the house overall in 15. I heard it was much better than 13, but that's definitely a good.
Yeah, I've always, like I said, I've heard nothing but positive things about that house.
Yeah.
So that's one I definitely wish I could go back and see. So flipping it over to you then, what would be another house that you would have on your bucket list?
For me, and we're just going off our notes. We're going off of what we have kind of compiled here. Would be Interstellar Terror, which was 2008, and that's the Event Horizon. It's pretty much.
Yes.
It's pretty much. So Universal, when they often couldn't get the rights to something, they would kind of tribute it just a little bit and change some things around so they wouldn't get in trouble. So Event Horizon, it was Interstellar Terror. It's pretty much the same plot. You're going in. There's a spacecraft. They've discovered an artifact, but it drives the whole crew crazy, and they begin to murder each other. And there was even some scenes where they would play with your mind, to where you would go into one room, and there would be like the bridge of the ship. There'd be the control panel, all the stuff, the TV screens,
right,
all the monitors.
They spare no expense.
Exactly. and then like John Hammond.
Yeah.
And then you go into the next scene. Now, to represent the fact that you're upside down in space, everything is flipped. So now all your control panels and all your stuff, they're up on the ceiling, and you're down on the floor, which is actually the ceiling. So it was very much and very gory. You know,
Yes.
I'm a sucker for blood. I love it. I'm a
Blood-
sucker
blood-
for a good story.
Blood and guts.
Blood and guts, exactly. But you know, and it's kind of like, I feel like personally, Horror Nights doesn't do enough sci-fi horror, just for my taste. You know,
Right.
because I mean, you have several things. You have the Predator, you have the Thing, you have this one. You know, with his homage to
Bring back the thing.
Bring back the Thing, please, please bring back the Thing. It's been too long. But yeah, this one's, you know, obviously an homage to the Event Horizon, and you know, like when they do these things though, when they do these sci-fi houses,
Yeah.
they do them very well.
Now, for this house, was this was one of the houses, correct me if I'm wrong, where you don't make it out in the end?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure nobody made it out in this one. And this was also a house where they played with your depth perception, where you're walking along a precipice, and you look down and you see this like crazy space void way below you, which is kind of what they did in the Pumpkin Lord. What was it? Wicked Growth.
Yeah.
When you're walking over the footbridge and you see the holes in the bridge with the water down below.
Looks like an
the
old
river.
rundown house, and right below,
Yeah, there's the river and there's got the water. So it was similar effect of like a vertigo effect of like you are looking down. You're there's some rocks and formations way down below you. But yeah, I just think it would have been a great house to experience firsthand. And yeah, definitely if you did experience firsthand, leave us some comments about how awesome it was, because we would love to read those.
So for me, moving on then, my third house would be the Ghost Town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch, back from HHN 26.
Yep.
And the reason I'd love to see this one, mostly for pure nostalgia, because the first time I ever went was the original Ghost Town.
Yep.
And it was such a fantastic house that I know this would have been one I'd enjoy as well. And
Just got to see the OG ghosts.
Yes. And just see them play off that second story on that. So this would be another one where I'd like to see them, like, you know, have another one, make it into like a trilogy. But just going, and luckily they have actually some good videos of this one on there, so I can actually see what the house was like. And just the actors look great, the makeup looked great. I love the bartender just pulls up the shotgun, just shooting the patrons. They're going, and you got that old woman like, back off, and
Yeah.
I mean, everything was just done perfectly. And in the previous one, the sets, like, they really got that old Western feel, and you just feel like you're there in the 1800s. Kind of like how you talked about with your first house, how you love history.
Yeah,
That's
the
how
body
I feel.
collectors,
Yeah, the body collectors. I'm that way with history too. So any time where I can feel like I'm back in the old West, I'm a sucker for the old West and like the Civil War era.
And these are things they do well.
Absolutely.
They do these period pieces, these set pieces very well. You know, to
Now,
where
I will be honest, like, this is not a house I would say isn't necessarily a scary house, but it's a fun house, and like it really gets you going, like with those sets and the makeup, and like I said, just feeling like you're back in the old West. So,
and if there's a shootout with outlaws,
Oh,
there are
yes.
ghostly like skeletal outlaws, and you're caught in the middle of that crossfire. It's raining. It's the you got the town on both sides, like the showdown,
Right.
high noon.
yeah, you see the
Gary
saloon,
Cooper's
you see the
setting,
saloons, the post office. All like I said, and you got the streets with the dirt, and it's fantastic.
Right.
So,
That would have been a good, yeah.
So what would be your third house then that would have been on your bucket list that you kind of wish you could take a time machine back to and go to the house?
As far as it goes for me, is it would be Nightingale's Blood Prey, which was, let's see, that was 21, and that's the World War I house where you have the Nightingales, and I like it because the main reason I like it is because the story is solid. So you have it's the Lady Luck storyline, right? And she's kind of going in, she's influencing people as she does. So you cut to the soldier in the trenches in World War I. They had tanks. From what I've heard, they had half an airplane kind of come in.
So we're going back to that history.
We're going
part
back
of
to
it.
the history part. Yeah, where you're in the trenches. They have machine guns, and there was an epic scare. There's some footage on YouTube that you can watch. It's kind of night vision cameras, not very good, but there's some footage where the soldier is shooting the gun, and he's kind of ripped in half. So they had this whole like fake torso kind of effect going on. But this thing looked so awesome, and I like the fact that the Nightingales, you know, they're kind of like succubus. They're kind of like shapeshifters, so they blend in as nurses during World War I. So they're blending in as nurses. They're pretending to heal you, and meanwhile they're draining you of your soul.
Right.
And what a better place to do such a thing in World War One, World War Two, and just the whole the bomb fire going off, the gunshots going off, all the stuff, kind of just, and like I said, history. I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on there because being it's World War One, though, but I still think like the World War II show, Band of Brothers, and them fighting. I kind of imagine like that, and like I said, just being in the trenches, that would just be an awesome, like I said, immersiveness of feeling like you were there and having the gunfire, the explosions going all around you. Just really, you hear one thing and boom, a scare actor's right there.
Yeah, a Nightingale, and they even had them on. From what I remember, they even had them on the bungees, and they had them above your head. But imagine that Tales from the Crypt episode, Yellow.
Yes.
Remember that
Yeah.
with the trench warfare? So it's like that, but instead you got these nightingales who start out as beautiful, they're beautiful women, they're beautiful nurses, and we're gonna take care of you. But guess what? No, they're not. As they transform into these beastly succubus, and
see, that's one right
so
there.
that
Like I've said this in the past, though, where they could take some of these original houses and turn it into a
film.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
It'd be
or a short
fantastic.
film, anything. But yeah, I definitely think that would be great. And come on, bring it back.
Yeah.
Bring it back, Universal. We know you're not watching, but if you are, bring it back.
So well, then, my next house then is one that still breaks my heart today that I didn't get to go because I was actually planning this trip to go, and then my kids dropped the ball on me. It's like, well, do we have to go into every house? I was like, yes, we got to go into every house. Why are we going to pay money and not go to all the houses? And I just couldn't have them sit and wait on me to go to these other houses and go in the houses by
Have
myself.
all the fun by yourself.
Right. So we didn't go that year, but it's HHN 29 in 2019 Ghostbusters.
Oh man.
Yeah, and you know me, like I know this one's more of a fun house as well, but growing up, like for me, it was Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, and that's all ran on at my house all day long. So,
Yeah.
Huge fan of Ghostbusters. I love the way they done the house. Right when you're going in the firehouse, you see Janine answering the call. We got one.
Live actor in that.
Yes.
Live actor in that.
Exactly, and then you go through and you're at the Hotel Sedgwick and you see them chasing Slimer and all the particle beams going off, the makeup, the Ghostbusters. They've done a fantastic job with them. The in-house audio of the actors was amazing. The effects they did with Slimer looked awesome as well. And then as it just moved throughout the movie, it just took you like down the path like you felt like you were in the movie. And just seeing the one they got playing Louis Tully when him and Dana Barrett are getting turned into the terror dogs. He's like comes out, he just pops out. I'm the keymaster. I'm the gatekeeper. It's fantastic. I mean, then you see the Marshmallow Man getting melted away with the big screen on there. They had I know they had some Pepper's Ghost effects in there as well. So it's just extremely well done house, and one I know they probably won't bring it back anytime soon, but I mean we do have them filming the new Ghostbusters Afterlife, so it might be something where they want to go maybe make a deal with Columbia and bring and do another house for it.
So I feel like for that one too was a definite callback to, and I was a wee little kid. I mean I was a little kid when we went the first time to Universal.
Oh,
and
yes.
got to see
Me too.
the Ghostbusters.
Spectacular,
The spectacular show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I remember going, okay, so my family, we didn't have a lot of money, but we went, we had a good time. We saw, that was one of the shows that captured me because I was always a Ghostbusters fan from being a child. So we saw that show and I loved it. And then I think we went back a few years later and they still had it there. It was right before it turned into, Twister?
Yep.
Right? So they had it there. I think I caught it maybe 2 times and just loved it.
Yeah.
Every bit of it.
I got to see it once when I first went. I was about 12 years old. And then the next time I went back, it was retired and it was Twister, but they still at least had a show where it was, I don't know if it was their version of the Extreme Ghostbusters, but it wasn't the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. They battled Beetlejuice.
Battle Beetlejuice,
Yep.
exactly. Now, I mean, that was still fun to see because they still brought the car out and then did the dancing and all that good stuff. So
And Beetlejuice
even though it
takes
wasn't-
them over, yeah.
even though it wasn't a spectacular show, it at least had some type of Ghostbusters with it. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
And I remember being a kid and going in and you see the New York City landscape.
Mhm.
And then you see the firehouse, you see the sign, and you
Yes.
go into the show. And as a kid, as a Ghostbusters lover, as a kid, I was home. I felt like this is the greatest thing ever.
This is a credit to Universal, and I don't know if it's something they've done by choice, though, but I'm still glad they left the facade of the firehouse, and they still have the New York City Library, so I can take my kids back. Kids, you see here back in the old days.
Back in the old days.
This
is what used to happen.
Used to be Ghostbusters.
And they
And
go,
now over
"What?
here is where they used to film Superboy.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, which they get the Ghostbusters, but like Superboy, how do you know? I was like, Dave just knows.
Yeah, that's right.
I digress. Moving on, keeping the train rolling. Then, Adam, what is your fourth house that you'd like to talk about?
Let's see. Number 4 for me is Nevermore: The Madness of Poe, and that looks like HHN 21.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I love it is because I am a big literature person. I love horror. I love literature.
You can't go wrong with that combination.
And you can't go wrong with it. And I remember the facade was you had a Poe face, and he's just a Poe boy.
He's just a Poe boy.
You had a Poe face, but you had all the what looked like book pages coming out from the face with the words written on it. And I remember in one room specifically from the videos I've seen, you go in, and there's all these weird, creepy kind of images, playing out from the stories. You go to the next room, now you're coming in straight through the floor like this. Now all the characters and all the images are projected on the wall. So it looks like the room has been tilted. You go to the next room, and now they're above you on the ceiling. So then again, you also have like that interstellar terror, like that trick of the eye. Where
and
it
like
looks like
messing with the perceptions of things.
It looks like the room is completely shifting above your head. Mm-hmm. And then you had, obviously, the Telltale Heart, the Black Cat, the Raven, all those key Poe stories that you know and love. Mm-hmm. And had this heartbeat soundtrack in the background, kind of boom, 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 kind of as it's going through, and you just watch him becoming more and more crazed as it goes on. I thought I wish they would bring back more literature houses. Yeah. I know. Like
Grimm's Fairy, I know that didn't they do a version like Grimm's Fairy Tales one year?
Yeah, they've done Scary
I'd love to see them bring
Tales.
that back.
They've done the Wicked Witch and then different iterations of the old fairy tales and stuff. But I would love to see some more Poe, some more Grimm stuff. Maybe even do some Jules Verne, some Journey to the Center of the Earth. But it goes wrong. But as far as the reason I love it is, and I wish I could have seen it, is because just as a literature fan, this would have been.
No, I'm with you. That's awesome. Definitely one I would like to have seen as well, because we've talked about that a lot and how there needs to be more literature-based houses and things, because there's just so much you can pull from, like Lovecraft houses and things like that. That'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, and they even had as far as they had the pit and pendulum in this one, and the big pendulum blades swinging down, cutting somebody in half, and all that stuff. Guts are coming out. It's just it sells itself.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, what's up next for you there, Doc?
Last one here, I think it's one that we actually doubled up on, but Yeti, Terror of the Yukon from HHN.
Got a crossover.
29.
29, yeah.
Yep. And, just seeing the videos of this house, just taking out, I know one good thing that I've heard about this house is when you go in, you feel the cold.
I love a cold house.
And exactly.
Love a cold house.
That just helps with the immersiveness and, just seeing all the scenes where the Yeti's popping out at you. And, this is like the full-scale suit Yeti. It just looks amazing. And the image I can't get out of my head is when you're in a trench and you look up and he's over top of you getting ready to come down on you. And like I said, I just can't say enough about what I've seen, like when they're in the cabin and it's trying to come in the cabin.
Yeah. He's got the legendary scene with the actor who's got I believe, a rifle. Mm-hmm. And you have the Yeti punch the hand through the gut.
Yeah.
And then pull it back out. And so the person's, dismembered there.
More blood and guts, man.
More blood and guts. More blood and guts. But it was also a short story that they had done, too. And it was the Yukon. They had gone. They were looking for gold. Mm-hmm. They had set up their camp in the short story I read.
Right.
And they're doing their whole thing. Of course, it's cursed. It gets cold. It gets dark. Mm-hmm. And then the Yetis come in and just do what they do. But, yeah, definitely a great cold house. And kind of an element of comedy, kind of not. I remember they had the door scare, which was like a scare where you're kind of walking along. Mm-hmm. There's an action that goes on. A door opens that scares you. And as it shuts, there's another scare right behind the door.
Right.
So it's almost like a 1-2 punch, kind of sleight of hand. And it just seemed like, yeah, definitely a house we wanted to be in, and with just that cold, like, because we love the pier. We love the pier, and we love that cold, and we know that Yeti was very
like
cold.
I said, that does a great job of immersing you. You feel like you feel like you're there, and you feel like you're being chased by you. It's not just I'm walking through a house now. I feel like I'm there. I see the sets. I see the snow.
And there's just fake snow going on. Yeah,
fantastic.
Definitely.
So I mean, that was a great rundown of our houses. Like, I know some honorable mentions I had that didn't quite make the list. Wolfman, like, I think, because I'm a big werewolf guy, I didn't want to put two houses on there. And so, to me, American Werewolf in London would have to edge out the Wolfman. But I've always heard great things about that house as well. And I've heard about the set pieces, and I feel like you're on the moors when he's running through the woods. One I'd like to have seen. Two others is The Shining. I know that's one we've talked about before.
That's a crossover, yeah. We got that one on mine as well.
Yep.
That was 27. Yeah, The Shining, and it was such a big fan of the film, and even the Dr. Sleep, that just going into the Overlook Hotel, hearing that old Al Bally, Ray Noble jazz music, playing the Gold Room, Ballroom.
Great party, isn't it?
Great party, isn't it? Yeah, all the scenes, the key scenes from The Shining, love it. That would have been completely awesome.
One other for me is like I don't know if I really want to open the can of worms to bring it back, but just to hear about the Undertaker having a house for WWE, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure what they done with it, but it's just enough to where it intrigues me. Like, what kind of house could they really have? Because I didn't really get to do much research on it, but it's enough to pique my interest on it.
Yeah, maybe with a good burning funeral home and
yeah. I mean, you can take
take
the wrestling element out of it. Like, there's a lot to work with there just for the character.
Yeah.
So how about you? Is there any more honorable mentions, or do we?
A couple of honorable mentions. Slaughter Cinema.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to put that on the list. It is still on the list. Slaughter Cinema. I love it because you got the Devil Dogs, which is also predicted on the speculation map. Devil Dogs, the Shitty's Kids, the I can't remember the name of the creatures that were supposed to be a knockoff of Critters / Gremlins. Those kind of. I like a. It's almost like an anthology house.
Right.
So that one definitely was on my list. As well as, let's see, Cabin in the Woods from 23.
Oh, yeah. Can't go wrong with
Cabin in
that.
the Woods. One of our favorite films. I just love it. Through and through. There's nothing I can say negative towards Cabin in the Woods. And, these lists were hard to make for us. We just kind of threw together a few of them that we thought you might like. But we could go on and on for several hours about potential houses we wish we could have seen. But totally drop us some comments. Let us know what houses you have seen or wish you could have seen. If you've seen some of these and you want to comment on kind of what they were like, we would love to hear more about it. And what else you got there?
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and then click that notification bell to alert you anytime we post new content.
That's right. And if you don't do that, then the storyteller is going to come get you. And she's going to read you a book. It's going to be horrible because
we know you don't like reading.
Yeah, we know you don't like reading, and she's going to read it to you, and it's just going to be a process. You don't want it, but stay tuned for some more episodes, and stay tuned as we dig deeper into the blood and guts of HHN.